Welcome to the second season, first episode of Trojans, Inside Trojans Football. Roger Coombes joining me is Coach Dave Masters today, and we're going to talk about some topics that Dave drew up that we feel are real important to get out to the community. First, I'd like to do a quick recap of the 2019 season. Credit to Jerry DeSimis, Collinsville Press, for historical stats. Jerry does a wonderful job in his local high school sports reporting. Simsbury was 10-2 in 2019, finished number 11 in Game Time Connecticut Sports Writers poll. Their best finish since finishing 9th in 1994. Simsbury earned their first playoff berth since 2009 and won 11 games in a row before falling to always tough Southington in a contest that was decided for the CCC Division I West title. The Trojans finished number 9 in the state coaches poll for their first top 10 finish since taking 7th in 1994. Simsbury won their first ever CIAC playoff game with a 17-14 win over Cheshire at Holden Field on December 4th in the Snow Bowl, before dropping a hard-fought 17-0 decision to eventual state champion Newtown on December 9th. Newtown went on to beat Darien 13-7 on a buzzer-beater 36-yard touchdown pass. This Newtown, Connecticut 2019 state championship was on December 14th. This storybook victory was on the 7-year anniversary of the horrific Newtown shooting and garnered national news and media attention. Simsbury's 11-game winning streak is the 4th largest in school history, and it's the 3rd time the program has rolled off 11 wins in a row. Previously, they did it in 70-71, 71-72, and the school record is 17 consecutive wins set in 1992-93. Wow, Coach, what a great wrap-up season that was. Here we are 9 months later.
Sounds really good. Let's do it again.
Really? Before the snow falls.
Yeah, that was great.
So, Dave, 9 months later, here we are. Can you kind of just give us your thoughts and feelings on that experience that you, the coaches, the families, and players had?
Well, last year, obviously, was extremely special. You know, it's funny, you reflect every now and then. During the season, it's so crazy and hectic, you don't think about what the boys are accomplishing and how cool it is to have that experience, and you're just kind of on this train and you're rolling, and then you reflect over the course of the offseason. This offseason had a lot of time to reflect, but looking back and then trying to plan and going forward and stuff, it really was, it provided a lot of great memories for us and a lot of fundamental foundational pieces in order which to build off of. It provided us what it really takes to win, how to do that, and where to go from there. It was pretty exciting. The whole thing, the Newtown game was special in the fact that, the next week they won on the anniversary, and like if you're going to lose a football game, yes, that team was pretty special to lose to. And just the little pieces that keep coming back to you from that. And we have, taken pieces of that season and put them in place in terms of how to approach, building the culture that you need in order to do that. I mean, a lot of things have to line up in order for that to happen. You got to stay healthy. You got to have the right coaches. You got to have the right players in place. You got to, it's not just sitting in an office creating X's and O's and then going out. There's a lot more that has to go your way. So, you can have all the talent and the great coaches, but there's things that just simply have to go your way in football, too. And it all lined up last year. It was really great.
And if you're ever going to have a big layoff like you've experienced, it's helpful to have a season like that to think about and talk about and build on. If you had been 5-5 and didn't make the playoffs, it'd probably be even tougher waiting that much longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what are you having? It's kind of a two-way thing. Like, are we missing some opportunities? Like, you start to think as a coach, like, the best. What is that? Those scenarios that would play out best for your program. And then I just gave in to the fact I can't control any of it, and nor can anyone. So we're just going to do the best that we can as a daily thing, and our planning and our progress is really focused on what do we know now for the next week? What do we know now for the 2 weeks? And then we kind of go from there. So, it's been an interesting off season for sure.
I bet. And let's talk about the offseason a little bit with the early lockdown, the effect on the program, summer adjustments that you've made. We'll get a little more into the fall season after you kind of give us an idea of how things changed. Literally 3 months almost to the day after your loss to Newtown, mid-March, everything changed.
Yeah, we had a weightlifting competition in New Britain that we did. Again, this would be our second year participating, and we finished well again, another top 10 finish, and we were feeling pretty good. But that's when the COVID situation was starting to take hold in not only in the world but in our community. And you notice some pieces there, different wiping down equipment, and there was a sense of kind of nervous because there's a lot of bodies in one room, and then sure enough, the next week we were that was it, locked down, and we were in it. Wow. And so in terms of what it did for the program, I mean, the spring for us is a lot of weightlifting and conditioning, getting ready, and that was gone. And we would have the ability at that point. The only ability we had was to meet, and so we did that on a regular basis. Just like everyone else in the country, Zoom became a thing for us, and often meeting with our players all the time. And really that spring season, I found, we didn't get the physical conditioning that we would normally to heal and then build up our bodies. But what we did do was, it was a good connection. Like, I started to understand and see players in a whole different way. And we made connections, our coaching staff made connections. So there's a lot more conversations and a lot more access to kids that way. So that was kind of a neat silver lining piece, maybe you could say, that we took from that, was the ability to communicate weekly, daily with some kids. See them in a different light, see them in their homes, have them see us in our homes. And it gave a different kind of perspective. I thought that was kind of a cool piece to the spring. But we were able to maintain those meetings. We also maintained meetings as a staff. We would do our monthly staff meetings, and that became actually more like two a month. And then we were also able to still continue, like we've previously spoke on in episodes, our leadership council, where we spend all year teaching kids how to be leaders and putting them in situations and how to handle those situations and how to become, not just football players, because that's not what we focus on, but we focus on the whole student. And then so our leadership kind of flourished too. We were able to do those. And what I found was the kids never missed those meetings. Like, a lot of them were optional, or they were always there. Like, the attendance was always there for that. And so, I thought that was kind of a pretty cool situation. The trade-off, not the physical pieces until the weight rooms would open again in the summer, but we certainly were able to gain some ground in terms of the mental aspects, certainly the leadership aspects. So that was a bonus, I guess, or a perk.
Wow, you moved some of the weight stuff outside, right?
Yeah, in the summer, we were able to have those pieces back, and due to protocols and stuff to remain safe, there were a lot of things that had to go into place. Very small number in any one place at a time. Outside was, we weren't allowed in the building by any stretch.
Sure.
So we were able to move our weight room outside. We ended up having 3 different, very distinct areas where we could have small groups come in. And, normally we would have one time frame where everyone would come in the summer, and we would be 8:30 to 10. That would be our block in a normal summer. Now we were stretched out throughout the day because we could only have so many in. So, a large credit to Jeff Pinney for getting that strength and conditioning program, that followed those protocols so we could do that. A lot of schools couldn't do that. Sure. Didn't have the resources, didn't have the facilities. Didn't have the staff to do it, but we were able to do that, not just for football, but for all the programs. So it really was a bonus to be, Simsbury really stepped up in that regard, and we were able to do it safely, keeping our distance, wearing our masks, and being outside the whole time. I mean, there were trade-offs because it took a long time during the day, but we did it safely, and we're kind of an example for other people to follow, which I was really proud of, actually.
Yeah, definitely tip of the cap to Jeff Pinney, Steve Petrina, Matt Curtis, and all the administrators to just try to do what they could to follow those rules. Yeah. And I liked one of your quotes that you said, coaches, you're a rules follower, and no better time to be in that area than right now.
And I think it pays off, following the rules. Like, you're given a set of guidelines, then use those guidelines and work within those, and don't I think that pays off down the road in terms of, hopefully in terms of how we're going to proceed even now. Like following the rules hopefully will get us to the next step, which is the spring. And following the rules in the summer hopefully gets you to the fall. So I think those are important pieces that we can't just disregard just because we may or may not agree with them. I think we have to follow what is set and then go with it.
So that's great recap on that, Dave. And then moving ahead now to the fall, it's been just really a real yo-yo of emotions, and the CIAC, no fault of theirs, trying to do everything they could to get the season underway while following those Department of Health guidelines. No season, no season, spring season. If you could just kind of tell us a little bit about the initial schedule, the change in the game season, and what lies ahead as we move to the spring football season.
Right. I mean, I could forget some pieces here, but
yeah.
There was a lot that actually happened. But
a lot of things.
We went from our normal 10-game schedule to a 6-game schedule, and then, that was the goal, to try and get back in school and try and do that. And then, the CIAC and the Department of Health and schools, and I think everyone was trying to do the right things, but no one really knew what the right things were. I think you're just doing the best. You couldn't get too far ahead of yourself, and you couldn't make too many predictions. They just tried to do what they thought would be available. And CIAC was trying to work with the Department of Health. That I don't know all the details of that. I just do know that we were given a schedule for 6 games, and so we started to prepare for that. And then that was taken away from us, because it didn't meet, we weren't able to come to agreement with the state and the state athletic department and the state Department of Health. And so that changed a little bit, and then they were working on a solution for that. So we went from games to no games to then maybe we're going to find an alternate for the fall. And then we went away, there's no alternate for the fall. And then we went to, now we're at the piece where, we've kind of, everything is settled down, pieces have kind of lined up, and now we're in an alternate fall where schools are basically left to figure out what they wanted to do for fall football activities that were safe, that fit within the Department of Public Health guidelines. And then the real, kind of important piece is that now there's that spring season that has been scheduled, organized, and hopefully by following the rules and the guidelines we can get to that piece as well. So right now, this evening we're going to travel and do a modified football activity that follows all the Department of Health guideline rules. We're going to go over to Windsor and compete against them, which gives our players an opportunity to compete. Our line players too. It's not football, but it at least gets them out and they're having fun with it. And we've made it fun. I think that's our job as coaches, is to take our circumstances and make them as positive as we can for the kids. And I think we've done that. You know how I feel about the coaching staff. I think they're phenomenal. And we'll get into that and the players in a second. But I think they've taken what we've been given, the guidelines we've been given, and they've molded them into something that I think is fantastic for the kids, and it's pushing the program forward. Like at some point, I stopped wishing for things to happen, and we just put our foot in the ground and said, enough going backwards, we're going to go forward from here, and it is what it is. So, we're looking forward to competing tonight, and it's really a good thing for the skilled positions, which are receivers, running backs, and quarterbacks. The linemen have a separate competition. We're just not all together.
For folks who don't know, what Coach is alluding to is 7-on-7 football, which is similar to flag or touch, and it's all spread out. It's no contact, and as he says, the skill players are your receivers, quarterback, and running backs, and then the linemen and the other players have their own separate competition.
Yeah, there's different competition. Yeah, it's a total different.
Football.
Oh no,
no pads.
No
helmets.
We wear the helmets because it provides a layer of protection, plus it gives you a shield. Most of the players have a shield attached to their front of the thing,
nice.
and so it just limits it. Yeah. Plus, it's just good when kids are running around, accidentally running into each other. You don't want two heads to hit, so it does.
Sure.
It just provides, and it gives a little sense of something. They've worked really hard to wear a Simsbury helmet, so that also is.
And you want them used to having that on.
Yeah, well, that's the other piece of it too. It's a
these babies
thing.
Are big and heavy. Yeah. We outfitted this one with a mask here, too. A mask on a mask.
Special circumstances.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I think we've made the best of that situation, and I feel like we're going forward and progressing towards the spring at this point. So I'm looking forward to the competitions and really we're using it as a preseason. the summer passing league is what we normally do. Now we're doing it in the fall, leading up to that. So.
And run the dates through real quick for folks. All sports have really changed. The seasons have all changed.
Yeah,
and,
nothing is normal.
Yep, and there's buffers in between at CIAC. So basketball will end. Hopefully, knock on wood, they play their season. They'll end in early February. Then you can start your weight training in mid-February.
Yeah.
Then the season starts in March.
We start. Well, we'll be on a practice field February 22nd. I think is that Monday.
Outside.
So, yeah.
On the field.
We've discussed that, in the weather being what it is. I mean, you can't predict it. It is what it is. But we we always want to play in the cold because that means you're being successful. We're just moving it cold to warm now. We'll adjust. I'm not worried about that at all. And I really feel like that. I don't think the kids are either. We've talked about that. And then hopefully it just cooperates. The weather cooperates a little bit to allow us to do that. And then we'll go from there. So we're February through March. We can have a scrimmage, I think, March 13th. And then we start a season, and we're going to have a 5-game season ending April 16th. So whatever those dates are that line up. And then there's a little buffer, and then the spring sports can go. And if anything gets canceled, say a fall season got canceled, they would fit into that alternate schedule as well. But it looks like they're going to be, pretty good, knock on wood for them. Hopefully they can finish their seasons and get those done and not have to worry about that.
Hopefully not any 2-foot snowstorms like before the Cheshire game.
No. Yeah, it gets. I don't think anyone wants to consider that.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Those videos of that game with the snow, 2 feet of snow on mounds the size of Everest.
So we'll see.
Crazy.
But we'll see. We'll go from there.
Well, that's good, Dave. That's real good, and I commend you for your attitude and your coach's attitude. And it's not easy for those players, and the family's not sure what's going to happen, and the seniors in particular. But
that's to their credit. Like I would say, like that's what I've been most impressed with from March to now. Like the positivity from the players and the positive families. Like so, every couple days, like I send a daily email. I've never done that before in my life. Wow. I send a daily email because things change daily. No complaints. Very, their adaptability, their flexibility, their positivity has really been remarkable. And it's been that same way with coaches. Every coach shows up every day. Every player shows up every day. And this is the biggest team I've ever had. Wow. I don't even know the numbers, to be honest. But it became managing an issue because of our cohorting. If you have a group of 30, that's one way. If you have a group of 130, you have, 13 small groups all over, and so you've got to expand your practice ability, your field. So, and we've done that, and that's another credit to Jeff and the school for accommodating all that stuff and keeping it going. But we haven't had anybody drop out. We haven't had anybody, be fed up and move on. They're still coming, they're still working, and they're still really positive. And I think that, silver linings has been one of those things that's been really remarkable. Liz Butler and the Gridiron Club, we're still doing things to help grow the program, and it's really been remarkable.
That's awesome.
The seniors are obviously a special group. They work really hard for this, and your senior year football is really special for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's a lot of hard work, and not everyone can do it. And so, just being on a field is reward. But also, this is the team that probably have numerous kids that would go on and play, and will go on and play. At Division 1, 2, and 3 levels, and what do you do with those kids that need that film and stuff? And so, one of the things that we've worked on is communicating with coaches, college coaches, and what do you need to see? How do we make this work? And, we're doing a bunch of things. The 7-on-7 will help, but the spring season obviously will really help. We're also going to start filming individual combine clips that college coaches want to see. John Helmkamp's going to film them. We have a set of drills that they want to see, and then we can send those out to coaches too, which will help too. So
that you'll do at your facility for your players, similar to what they would do when they went to a combine.
Correct, because that's not happening anymore, and so we take that film and we send them to the schools because we have a bunch of kids that are very, that are looking forward to playing at that next level. Sam Scott, Gavin Butler, Jeffrey Coleman, Aiden, as you know, is already committed. So there's, more so than normal. We have, a lot, and so we're committed as a coaching staff to bust our butt to make sure that we do everything we can possibly do to do it. We had a couple kids today that went up and actually got to go to some of the schools, and we're checking them out. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's good. And they'll still have that spring, hopefully 5-6 games, where there'll be additional film to provide to the coaches. And then the college coaches, they'll have their own challenge because I think the NCAA is allowing some players to have a 5th year.
There's a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah,
I don't even really
I
know.
know.
I can't
Tough.
figure all that
Sure.
stuff out, And I think, we're able to plan now because the dust is settled and we're focused on fall and then in spring and what we're going to do in the winter even now too. So, all those other things we'll have to figure out as we go. But, there's a lot of coaches that we've built relationships with that we get advice from and they can help us, and we kind of working together to make sure that the seniors are taken care of because every program recognizes that. And that's the other thing too. I would say that I think is another positive is that football programs are working together to find out what's best for their kids. Southington and Simsbury, rivals on the football field. We talk every other day or every day to try and figure out, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And we're working closely to figure out, trying how to make it best for our programs. And I think that's another thing that is really special about football. We're working pretty tight with each other because we realize the impact and we understand that, we're each other's best friends in this kind of situation. And I really feel like that's another positive thing that has come out of it. There's a million negative things, but I don't dwell on that. It doesn't make any sense. So there's a lot of these positive things that are coming out that are really kind of cool, I think.
That's excellent. And it never ceased to amaze me, Coach, just how different football is from basketball, baseball, hockey. It's just so much involved with it, and there's so many numbers that you have. Basketball, you got 12 guys on varsity, 10 on JV. Here, like you said, you got over 125 players with 16 coaches or so.
Yeah, but see, I think, and it's a year-round thing, and really the football program, and that's, there was the talk of the independent leagues and the AAU football and all those. That's almost impossible to do because football does take a year, and it does take a certain connection. Like we're going, almost all year at this point, to some degree and some level with something. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it special. It's a really big commitment for a family to make, for a player to make, for a coach to make. So it's impactful when it gets interrupted.
I wasn't disappointed when those independent leagues really didn't get off the ground. I didn't feel comfortable with those really. I was.
Well, you would have had to go against the Department of Health in order to do those things, and some schools are. I mean,
borrowing equipment. I think New Britain's letting their folks borrow equipment.
Yeah, well, there's lots of different things, and and once we, that path became clear that that's not the one we were going to go down.
No.
I don't know what everyone is doing at this point because it doesn't help my program get better at this point. But there are a few programs that are trying it. The Fairfield County tried a different model going through the youth program, and then there's other schools that tried to go just abandon their school and form another team. And I don't even know how people are doing it, and because it just isn't impacting our world at this point. And it didn't really get a good start. It's very expensive, and there's lots of schedule. Where do you practice? Whose equipment do you have? There's a ton of things that have to go into that besides getting your team ready and who coaches it. Now that there's a spring season, off-season coaching rules apply, so you can't coach it if there's a season. There's who's going to coach your team if you go into. So there's all.
You don't want Aiden Beauchamp to go to a play in one of those games, or.
I want whatever's best for kids, and if I thought something was better than what we were offering, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. But I'm pretty sure that. I trust my coaches, I trust our program, I trust our families, I trust our town. I trust them to do what's best. And I think, our kids had an opportunity they could go, but none of them left. Because I really feel like...
I think that's for the best.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think that, those decisions it just never came to the front with me. I never had to sit across from a kid and would talk about that as an option. Everybody wanted to stay in the program, which
I
is
think
great,
that's a tribute to your program, really, by the way you described how everyone is so tight and you're keeping everyone engaged, you're communicating to the parents. Communication is so important, Dave.
Well, I think it's fair to them. I think it's so hard for families. It's hard for us, but it's really hard for families because they see the pain in the kid, like a senior, when he has to come home and they have to adjust their schedules. And it's not just football. I have a football player, and they might have another son or a daughter that doesn't play football. They got to navigate all that stuff. That's a lot of stuff. So By communicating, at least at the football end, if I can make that easier for them, then that's what we'll do. But
The knowledge helps. That's just having the knowledge. And
even if it's not what you want to hear all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I prefer that. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, Dave. Anything else you want to talk about? Any new coaches? I know.
Well, we do have some.
Jeff Wilkins left, unfortunately. Great guy, Coach Wilkins, and you never have a shortfall of folks that want to get involved with your program.
No, I've actually, we've picked up a couple more. Rob Addis,
Former player,
went to Springfield. It was an all-state
field
punter
goal
here.
kicker.
Yep, kicker. And I was in the grocery store, and it was in the off-season in the winter, and ran into him, and he wanted to join in, and he started going to meetings. And this is a weird, if you're first starting to coach, this is not normal. So, but he's been there every day. He comes to every meeting, so he's helping out. Matt Danko is another guy, a Southington guy, played with Coach Moose at Southington.
Wow.
And then coached with him at Sheehan, played at Western New England as a defensive lineman, and he came in and took over our defensive line. We made some adjustments within the coaching staff because of Jeff leaving. Jeff Wilkins, he had a job and moved on, not in the area. And so he was a big hole to fill because Jeff was kind of a jack, he did everything for us. So, Coach Malk, we moved to the offensive line. And so we've had some adjustments to make. Mike Schulitz, who was volunteering for the youth, who had a son graduate last year, once his son graduated, wanted to get involved and start learning about it. So there's lots of those kind of, positives, and we really just Jeff has moved on because he had to, but that was it for last year.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, we are inside the 2-minute warning, and just before I do my concluding read, just want to ask you, Coach, if you have any closing comments, in a minute or less, of just on a move forward basis, and just if you want to let the folks in the community, have any other viewpoints.
Well, I think we'll continue to play by the rules. We'll continue to move forward with whatever guideline. If it changes tomorrow, we change tomorrow. If it stays the same, we'll stay the same and keep progressing, and we'll go from there. We're going to plan out our summer, which would be winter in this case, how we're going to do that and work with other sports. Because I feel it's important to play other sports. I want them to not have, just because football's now moved in doesn't mean you stop doing your other sports. If that's something that you want to do, you should be able to do that, and I want that to happen. High school's too short. Have fun and enjoy. And so hopefully, but we'll set up something so they can stay in condition, because it is important to be as physically strong and fast as possible to do now the spring season. And then we'll roll into that, and we'll take it as it comes, and we'll continue to, just kind of take our model for the fall and put it in the spring, and I'm sure it'll have to adjust, and then we'll go from there. But, I checked in with all the coaches, and we're all in. Everyone's in for that, and so we're good to go.
Awesome.
Looking forward to a new challenge. It'll be different, but our attitude is as we try to stay is as positive as possible, and we'll just go and get it.
Well, I commend you, Coach, for all your hard work, and better than that, your attitude is phenomenal, and that's huge.
Well, I hope it helps. I think that
it has to help. It comes out to the kids, too.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, good. Well, this wraps up our first 2020 edition of Inside Trojan Football here on SCTV. We look forward to broadcasting the Trojan football home games again in their winter 2021 season. Sounds weird. And bringing you the action on SCTV. As a reminder, all of the games that we do and our coaches show can be viewed on demand online at www.simsburytv.org. Thank you again to the folks at Simsbury Community Television, Karen Hanville and Patrick Phelan, for making this all happen. And thank you, Coach, for coming out and taking time out. Good luck tonight in Windsor, and really appreciate you sharing these things with the folks in the community.
Oh, that's great. I love doing it, Roger. I really do. I think it's important.
And as we always end our shows, Trojan Pride.
Go Trojan.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.